right. Good afternoon, everyone. We will call the regular trustee meeting for today, Monday, January 14th, to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we look at our agenda, I'll make a motion to excuse Ms. Wallace from today's regular trustee meeting.
Second.
I'm not used to doing that. Hold on. Well,
New year.
Just excuse her, 'cause you're.
Excuse.
Yeah.
I'll just say she's excused.
Mm-hmm. We have an agenda before us. Do we have any modifications or an agenda or additions?
Yes, Board, we have an addition of a purchase request from the road department.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $383,817.24 for the 12/19/18 payroll, and the general ledger report in the amount of $331,401.29 for the January 2nd, 2019 payroll.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $634,284.05 for warrants through December 31st, 2018.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
And were there minutes actually in there?
No.
No, there aren't, but
That's fine.
you know what? They are being numbered.
No
so
problem.
Very happy.
Great. So we will move on. Seeing no one, citizens desiring to speak. We have no old business, no new business. We will turn it over to our acting administrator.
Thank you, Board. First up, on page 4, beginning on page 4 is the Sheriff's Department bi-weekly activity report, followed by a monthly report.
Did we have any questions?
I had none.
I had none as well. Looked good.
Okay, thank you. We have a bi-weekly report from the Human Resources Department. Are there any questions that you'd like me to convey to the Human Resources Administrator?
It sounded as though we had over 40 applicants. Is that correct?
45?
I thought 43.
43 was the number I heard.
Okay, good. And you're starting interviews, or HR is starting interviews this week?
Tomorrow,
Okay.
Tomorrow.
yes.
Good. Okay.
How long do you expect to take you to get through the interviews, Chief?
I have no idea. She and Chief Merch will be conducting them.
Gotcha. Zoning?
Next up beginning on page 44, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. The zoning report doesn't include any numbers from calendar year 2019 yet. These are preliminary end of the year numbers from 2018, just FYI.
Any questions, Mr. Kretz?
Just from a revenue standpoint, what's the anticipation at this point for 2019? And we obviously made some adjustments and changes going into 2018 based on 2017 activity levels.
Right.
And so, just looking forward, are you projecting flatline for 19 as compared to 18, or going back into the 17 spike?
I think given the number of subdivisions we have opening up here in the next month or so, we might anticipate a spike, a small one though. We're not losing any steam, however. The other piece of that answer is that I'll be in touch with the auditor to see if he recommends any changes in the calculation methodology this year. Updating the calculations for revenue projections to a 2018 rate or not.
Okay.
But I think the numbers are gonna be roughly the same or slightly higher.
Okay. In part because, obviously we share that data with the schools, and
Mhm.
so, most importantly, we rely upon it for our own projections for your department, but then also the schools rely upon it, the decisions they're trying to make. So,
And though it's only it only covers one taxing district within the school district, it's an important, it's the taxing district where the greatest residential growth is taking place within the district, and so, arguably has a major impact on enrollment and expenses.
Mm-hmm.
I have no other questions.
Neither did I. IT?
IT begins on page 49.
It seemed like we had the email system went down, right around the first of the year. Has everything stabilized since then that we know of?
I can only give you an impressionistic answer from my own experience, and I'd say yes, that's true.
Okay. And
Well-
department-wise, fiscal, roads, fire, everything else was stabilized? Okay.
Was that an anomaly, or was that more of like a year in transition with upgrades, or?
What it feels like as a department head is that bugs got ironed out. And
Okay.
Office anticipity issue,
Sure.
is what we were told.
Okay.
Hmm.
So a licensing issue then.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, though there are fewer incidents for which we call IT, they're also resolved much more quickly too. They come right over.
Good.
So,
I have nothing else. We'll move to roads. Great job this weekend, Mr. Park.
Thank you, the guys worked very hard.
Troops did a fabulous job.
37 consecutive hours.
We actually started at 5, in anticipation of the storm, and we finished last night at 6 o'clock.
Wow.
Everything back to the curb, so. They did a very nice job.
I saw positive comments on social media and such, so that the community appeared to be pleased. So you typically hear negative before you hear positive, and what I saw was positive.
I took the negative ones
Yeah.
yesterday afternoon,
Yeah.
but most of those were in the incorporated area, so.
Yep.
Was that 5 a.m. Saturday morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Just clarifying. Thank you.
And I do have a purchase request to open up a PO for some additional salt. The one we opened in December, I just ordered it this morning, so.
Okay.
Will this fill the barn, or will this?
It will come close.
Okay. And the only reason I asked that question is based on current prices of fuel. If fuel prices were to go up next year, which I don't know how they could go much lower, then I would assume that would translate into more expensive salt at some point. So,
Well, this bid's good through April 1st, so
okay.
we're locked in
You
at the
can
70.
stock up essentially
Yeah.
at the end of the season if you need need to for next year.
And that's
Right.
typically what we do, because what we have been using so far this winter was what we stocked up on last winter at the cheaper rate, so.
Is there a motion in the packet? I didn't see it.
No.
So I'll just
No.
make one here. So we added
This is
this,
the
so,
added
This was the,
agenda item.
Reaction to what we used over the weekend.
okay. Make a motion to approve purchase request 9693 to Detroit Salt for $37,500 to purchase road salt, 500 tons.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Beat heat, we're okay on at this point?
We should be by now.
Okay.
Should be delivering as we speak.
Okay.
But we already had a purchase order open from 18 for that, so.
Any property damage reports or anything that we need to be aware of as far as this round?
As of this morning, we had 3 mailboxes that the snow had taken out. Those are being repaired as we speak.
Just with that volume and then another volume coming behind it, there's gonna be
Yes,
curbside service for a while, so.
yes, you are correct now. We did get some evil eyes when we were cleaning up Saturday or
Sure.
Sunday. People don't really understand why we
Push it to the.
plow all the way back to the curb.
Mhm.
But once you explain it to them that you're not gonna get mail
Right.
unless we do, then they change their tone and, oh, well, thank you, so.
Good.
The one thing in the bi-monthly report that isn't reflected in the snow removal is, of course, this weekend. This weekend was an expensive weekend. I don't have a final total yet,
Overtime wise,
overtime and material.
Yeah.
'Cause 2 of the 3 shifts went through almost 1,000 gallons of beat heat.
So how many drivers do you have total? I mean, can everyone drive or?
8,
Okay, so you have a total.
and then 1 part-time guy.
Okay, and so you can run 24-hour full continuous or
Yeah.
36 if you had to, so.
Yeah, we run, well, like this weekend, we ran 5A to 5P, switch shifts, 5P to 5A, and then switch back. And then we just held them over because it wasn't worth bringing the other shift in for that last
An
hour to finish up.
Good.
I had nothing further.
And we're running 2 or 3 trucks?
Actually, at times we're running 4.
With the pickup and the plow?
No,
Or
we're
3
running
dumps?
3 big trucks. One shift runs 4 big trucks, and if our part-timer's in, he'll run one of the smaller ones.
Okay,
And the other shift runs 4 big trucks.
okay.
We've got it split pretty much Dayton, Xenia, to Fairgrounds, Treybine, except for Nathaniel's Grove. There's 2 trucks that concentrate that area, which is what we call our middle route. Our north route is Valley, Hilltop. Then they go all the way up off New Germany, Treybine, down to Conservancy. Then our south truck goes south of 35, anything down on that side.
For reference, obviously you have, and your crews have, a map of the roads that the township is responsible to plow.
Correct.
Have we ever created an illustration of that we can prop up on the website and direct people
I don't
to?
know that we've done a illustration.
I mean, even if it's just a
it-
highlighted map that says these
Yeah.
roads or this zone.
Yeah, well, it's listed on what streets are within the township in the new webpage, but a map we should be able to come up with.
I just think it might help illustrate for people that
Right.
have a question, so, that either live near a border or live on one side and it's city on the other, and so,
They can never find the city's phone number.
right.
Well, it could be a point of reference too to send them, you know, and that port of the website could have that map, and it could have our contact, and it could have the city contact.
Actually, the city's contact is there. One individual was very upset yesterday. I went ahead and called him back. It was like 5 o'clock last night. He couldn't get out of his cul-de-sac, and his plat hadn't been plowed.
Sure.
Well, he goes, I'm a Beavercreek Township resident. First question I asked was, what street do you live on? You're in the incorporated area. And they were having a hard time, well, we're in Beavercreek Township, but
Right.
and getting the
It's two
differentiation.
different road departments. So.
Right.
But he was very appreciative that he actually got a phone call back
Sure.
that day. And that's what we try to do is, if somebody calls, even if it goes to the office, I try to answer to get that quick contact.
There's only a couple times a year you ever need it, but it'd be handy to have and be
Yeah.
able to refer people to and say, you can look on here and determine which zone you fall in. You're
Yeah.
either in this
And that's
zone or
something we
that zone.
work on to come up with.
So we, you know, limited property damage. What about all our equipment and everything came through the weekend?
Actually, we had 2 trucks go down at different times. One was repaired the same day, and the other one is being repaired today, so.
So we'll be back up to full steam by the weekend,
We'll be back up to full steam by the end of the day, so.
by the end of the day. Okay.
But we had a backup truck we could fall back to continue operations.
How many vehicles do we have spraying the beat?
All of them.
All 4 do?
That is one of the things with the modifications we did last year with the small dumpers. Everything has that capacity now, so.
Good. Okay, good job, Mr. Parks. Fire.
Good afternoon, Board.
Afternoon, Chief.
We have 2 requests for you today. They're both for purchases. They are both related to the accreditation process. The first purchase, and I'm not sure what page it's on in the packet, is to send
Page
2.
61.
Thank you. It's page 1 in my packet. It's to send two members, 2 representatives to the annual Center for Public Safety Excellence Conference. The conference is held in Anaheim, and it is the primary place for accreditation-related activities. So it's a combination of training, the accreditation review process, and all the other affiliated things that the Center for Public Safety Excellence provides to agencies that are going through the process.
Yeah.
This would be our first year to attend. It is recommended. We've been doing a number of regional trainings. They have an Ohio, Indiana, Michigan group that we've been participating in quarterly, and all of those groups have recommended that we get 1 or 2 representatives to the conference to at least see how the process goes for agencies that are being reviewed for accreditation or reaccreditation, and then to get the training and the contacts. So it's not something that we had originally planned on, but based off of the input we've gotten, we went ahead and put it in the budget for this year, so we obviously discussed it during the budget hearing. We would like to send the 2 members. If it is successful, then it's probably something that we'd like to do as an ongoing, but that's not required either this time or any other time, except for when we do go for the accreditation hearing. We would need to have 2 members at that particular one. So we're looking at a minimum of once every 3 to 5 years, or potentially annually if there's a value to it.
What do you mean is, how do you quantify or define if it was successful?
It's going to be based off the feedback that Chief Dorston and the other representative, I believe he's planning to take Chief Young as well, because they're the accreditation manager and co-manager. If they think there's a value above and beyond the basic training that we are getting with the KETA class and the regional trainings that we're getting, then they'll make a recommendation that we continue on. And that'll be based off of a post-training report that they do. Every time we send folks out for training like this, we get a conference or training report back from them, and we'll make a determination and a recommendation based off of that.
Okay.
but it's not quantifiable. It's just based off of what they've got out of it, based off of what we're asking them to do for the process of accreditation.
All right.
One, I guess, question or concern is if we're sending someone that, and I don't know that this is the case, but if we are sending someone to a seminar or training like that is planned retirement in the same year, why wouldn't we send a successor?
In this case, the only reason we're doing it, we actually had a fairly lengthy conversation about that, a couple of conversations about it, is because we are trying to, with the accreditation process this year, get as much of the institutional knowledge that Chief Young still has and incorporate it in the process, and we think that this will help improve his ability to understand the process so that we can get that information out. In the future, we would typically not do that, and for other trainings, for Blue Card or for CAD training or for those other sorts of things, we typically would not do that. But this was a conscious decision this year to try and maximize his potential in the process for his remaining time with us. But if that's a key concern, obviously we can rethink that, or we can change who does go. So that's not a problem. But it's a good question. It's one that we, like I said, we put a lot of thought into before we made a final decision.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
That, you know my concern,
Mhm,
so.
absolutely.
Obviously is, and it has nothing to do with the individual whatsoever. I think the world of the individual and what that individual contributed to the UL process or UL experience that we just went through was unreal. So it's more just a matter of, from a financial watchdog standpoint, is saying, is that the best use of the dollars, and are we really paying to send someone so they can start a consulting business 3 months later? And that's the concern.
And in this case, I don't think it's the latter, and it is, like I said, the rationale from our perspective is to be able to maximize his contribution in the process by having the best understanding of the process and how it applies to us as an organization.
And I appreciate that. So my latter comment may not even be possible here. I had that happen to me. I paid to send someone to accreditation. They retired, they started a consulting business, and essentially I paid for their accreditation for them to start their own consulting business. And it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I haven't forgotten.
Yes, sir.
So, you ready?
I'm ready. It's your show.
Okay, I'll make 3 motions. I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 09824 to Center for Public Safety Excellence for Excellence Conference in the amount of $1,490, and to authorize the Township Administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kratz,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 9827 to PNC Card for airfare to CPSE conference in the amount of $1,500, and to authorize the Township Administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kratz,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Make a motion to approve purchase request 9827. I'm sorry,
yeah, it's gotta be a different
it's gotta be
number.
a different number, so
Oh,
98.
You probably have the
I
hard
have the
copy in
same
front of you. I
number twice here.
apologize.
That's okay.
It
Just
should
trying to
not,
make sure
the
I've got
actual
this
hard
right.
copy should have a unique number on it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make
Unless-
sure I've got the dollar amounts correct, because this dollar amount in this does not match the dollar amounts here. So the purchase rec is written for 700.
This, I believe, is the next.
Yes, 700's your next purchase.
But the packet says 844.
9828.
Yeah, there should be, is it this one?
Does the 9827, does it actually have the
9811.
total amount of those combined? 1,500 plus 844?
Yep. This one's the total amount.
2344.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so.
But that doesn't match, I made a motion for 1,500.
Well, you can go ahead, if it's on the same purchase request and both of those purchase requests add up to the amount that's on that, then we should
But they
be.
don't. The 1,500 and
Yeah, they do.
And
and 844 do, okay, I'll take that.
And it's on
And it's on
827?
it's on 9827.
Okay, yep.
That's okay. So we can amend that,
No, you can go ahead and just approve the second.
the second amount?
Yeah, you
Okay.
could, yep.
All right, I make a motion to approve purchase request 9827 to PNC card for lodging at CPSE conference in the amount of $844 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Discussion. This is essentially the same purchase request number, but it is in addition to the 1,500 approved for airfare. So now we have airfare and lodging for a total of $2,344.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did not catch that. I don't know why they did two separate motions when it really should be
That's no
one
problem.
motion
I
for one
could have
purchase
added them
request, so.
together, but that's no problem.
That, we should have added it together for you, so.
Good call, please.
Mr. Kretz,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
And then, as far as attendees, do you want me to change the second attendee, or are you comfortable based off our
My preference is that
conversation?
you use your best judgment,
Okay.
so, as you would with anything else.
All right, in that case, we will be sending Chief Young, I believe, but I will verify that
Sure.
and get with you, and we will have a follow-up conversation to address your specific concerns.
And I concur with, Mr. Kretz's comments, but it also makes sense to send our best of the best there to help to outline what's gonna happen in the future.
Yeah. I can guarantee he will not attend next year if we are to send folks next year.
No, and that's my concern, is that from a recurring cost standpoint, if you have to send someone that didn't go this year because the I'll call it, for lack of a better term, tribal knowledge left with the person that retired, that's where it's like, okay, why would we do that?
Yeah.
So, but if you're training the trainer, then it's a different thought process.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Our second purchase request is for $700, and this is for the KETA class. If you recall our conversation earlier this year when we set up for it, we requested that they host a class here, which they are doing. And we were, based off our prior conversation, we have 4 people that are guaranteed to attend, which is the 3 captains and the fire marshal. Because of the size of the class, we got 3 additional seats free. And so what we'd like to do is send our 3 operations committee, apologize, had a little bit of a freezer. Our operations committee, which is our junior leaders in the organization who do a lot of the translating our strategic goals and visions into practical task level opportunities. We're going to send them in those 3 free spots, and we have a 4th person that's in that same category that we'd like to send, and that would be an additional $700. That $700 is paid for with the offset of not sending our 4, or in this case 7, the 4 that we had agreed to pay to send as part of the class, the 3 free seats, not having to pay any of the travel or lodging expenses for them. There's a substantial savings there, and so we'd like to send a 4th person, and this basically will get not only all of senior leadership but also all of our junior leadership, and the folks that are going to take this over as time goes on is kind of the other side of what we just talked about, building some of that institutional knowledge for the long term and getting them involved. So this is a request for an additional $700, and typically the request of that size will not come to the board, but it is part of the bigger package, and it's definitely over $2,500 for that. So be happy to answer any questions.
And then, yeah.
No, the only question I have is I have 2 purchase requests. I have 9811, which is in the packet for $700, and then I have a 9828.
Are they both for SIPC?
This one is SIPC PNC essentially for $700, which is the one that matches here. Then the second one is for $700 for meals and entertainment.
I believe
I'm sorry,
that,
meals and tax.
that's the reimbursement, for the, travel expenses for the, two that are going to the conference.
Okay.
So that's part of the first purchase, but I'm wondering if, as I'm looking at this, how they laid it out, because it's personal reimbursement and not a card or an invoice, it's gonna be a warrant. They probably put it on a separate, purchase request for that reason.
Okay.
And
'Cause
the amount is coincidental, the fact that it's the same amount is
It's around
coincidental.
the same amount. The number does not appear in the packet. That's why I just wanted to clarify which one I'm
The
working from.
purchase order number isn't in the pack.
9828 purchase request is not in the packet.
Yeah, so that's because it's a, employee reimbursement amount.
Okay.
And typically that would not have a, purchase request, I don't believe. Do we do purchase requests for warrants? I can't
No,
recall if we
normally
do.
they fill out a reimbursement.
Yeah,
form,
it's
and
gonna
then
just
come
be a
back.
warrant typically,
But
so.
maybe since the amount was so much, they wanted you to be.
Yeah, that's
aware of
probably
it.
for comprehensive, I think
Okay.
you're right.
So just from a transparency standpoint, the 700 for meal and taxi reimbursement is a placeholder, essentially not
Yes,
to
sir.
exceed for the Anaheim
Yes, sir.
training that we were talking about previously. So if I do these things in order, I will do that one before I do the one we just talked about. if
Yes,
that's
sir.
okay. Just so we can close that one out. I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 9828. To Chief Dorston and Chief Young for meal and transportation reimbursement in an amount not to exceed $700.
Second.
Mr. Kratz,
Discussion just real quick, the $700 not to exceed is for meal and transportation, ground transportation at the Anaheim conference.
Yes, sir.
For SIPSI.
And those are limited to the per diems that the, township policy establishes.
Yep. Yes.
okay. So Mr. Kratz, yes, Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
This one needs a department level.
Yes, sir, I'll get that for you.
Okay. Second, I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 9811 to Center for Public Safety Excellence for 4th additional officer tuition in the amount of $700 and authorize township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. And one thing I did not mention, that's to our advantage is, since we're all going to be here, the instructor has said that, those of us who have already taken the class, that are part of the accreditation process can sit in and, review parts of it, audit parts of it, or participate with the members that we have in there. So we'll be able to do some, additional training amongst ourselves during that process. So it's gonna be a huge advantage to having it here. I appreciate the board's willingness to let us host that class. We have 29 members, 24 of them are ours, and then 25 from other agencies that'll be attending, so, from all over the Midwest.
Good.
And those are the purchase requests that I have for you. I apologize for the confusion there. First meeting of the year, we took a little,
January jitters, we got it.
yes, we'll work that out and get us squared away for the rest of the year.
I had no other questions.
The weekly report begins on page 63.
And we're still working through our challenges. Matter of fact, we had a pretty lengthy meeting about some of the reporting, the transition from having the database locally and being able to access it directly to having software as a service and in the cloud is proving a bit of a challenge for us. So we are working through how we're going to do that, because not only do we have the reporting requirements for the board, but for our annual reporting, and then the biggest one is coming up for us, accreditation. We have to be able to get the information at hand, both historical and current, for that process. So we are continuing to work on it. I hate to sound like a broken record as far as why some of the EMS stuff is still not in there. And we will be adding, updating the map and adding the Bath Township stuff as well. So you will have a copy of that as well, something that we can provide Bath Township for our activity in their jurisdiction.
Good.
That's all I have for the board today.
Okay. Thank you.
Good job, Chief.
All right, thank you very much.
Legal,
Nothing today.
fiscal,
First thing that we have is the resolution to request the tax advance from the Greene County Auditor. It's the standard resolution, and it can be as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to request tax advancements from Greene County Auditor for calendar year 2019 as presented.
second,
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
yes.
And then the second thing we have is the township inventory list that's due to the county engineer today. It can be also approved as presented. And there's just two so that we can turn one in and bring
That
one
was
back.
quite the attachment.
Right. Light reading.
I'll read this one. Ready?
I am ready. Go
Make
ahead,
a
Mr.
motion to
Kratz.
approve a resolution to adopt the Beavercreek Township inventory list as presented.
Second,
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
yes. Just want to note that Mr. Chris used to make me read the whole thing.
Oh, it'll be a long year if as presented. You need both of these signed, Ms. Harris?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission report. Ms. Wallace is not here, so we'll table that for our next meeting. MVRPC Technical Advisory Committee. That'd be-
That meeting was let's see, that was canceled. Thank you.
All right.
They'll meet next week. I'll be at that one.
Regional Planning Coordinating, Greene County. It was the meeting in December, or was it December, Ed? It was an extremely interesting meeting. The township had, I don't know, do we have a name for that plat, Ed?
Stone Ridge.
Stone Ridge on the agenda. There was extremely spirited conversation over with regards to the committee's ability to have the deciding factor on that parcel based on how it came before the committee with regards to how it had been filed. And then at the end, the applicant it was tabled and withdrew, correct, Mr. Amrine?
It was tabled at the applicant's request so that he could think about how he wants to proceed. I don't know whether it'll be on the agenda for this upcoming set of meetings next week.
And that really is,
In the interim, the township has sent a letter to Regional Planning and Coordinating Commission clarifying the township's position in support of the subdivision, and indicating that at least 3 members of township professional staff had participated in the development of the staff recommendation, to approve that subdivision. That letter was written at the request of various county personnel, a commissioner, and regional planning staff. They were simply seeking clarification on what the township's position. The source of confusion is that there was no formal township approval process because there was no change in the status of the property, given the fact that all the parcels in the subdivision were going to continue to comply with existing zoning on the property. There was no statutory requirement for the developer to come before any township body for approval. subdivisions are approved at the county level. And that simply kind of threw the executive committee for a loop. They didn't, that many of them seated at the table at at regional planning, simply had never encountered that before, where their decision was gonna be the deciding decision on the plat. And they weren't sure how to proceed without some formal word from the township. So we provided a letter of clarification for that. Hopefully it'll work.
Okay, we'll see this month.
Mm-hmm.
And then, school city manager, township rep meeting, probably Mr.
That would've been,
Zaharian,
that would've
yeah.
been, Mrs. Zaharian, same with
He'll-
Right Pat Restoration Board is
Yeah.
Mr. Zaharian.
Yeah, so those two will go next time. Township Association, they had their meeting, that's,
I know I worked with, Scott Miller as far as nominations for, the board for the Greene County Township Association, and at this point, my understanding is that the same 4 individuals will be serving again. However, they're actively seeking a replacement for Chris Mucher as secretary.
Right.
One of the things that I had recommended, and I believe they put the wheels in motion. Did you attend the meeting?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so
I
I
was in
had
attendance.
recommended that they look at the positions of secretary and treasurer. And first, we couldn't locate a copy of the actual bylaws or constitution of the association, so naturally, Ms. Graff had 2 copies. So one original typed and one was computer generated. Neither were dated, neither were signed, but both were consistent in that they referenced that essentially those positions needed to be filled by elected officials. And so they were also both consistent that to change those bylaws required a 2-meeting notice, essentially, to the body, and then if you wanted to change those bylaws. So I made a recommendation, and I believe they brought it up with reference to holding a vote a few meetings down the road. Not the position of president or vice president, but only the positions of secretary and treasurer, to open those up to non-elected official individuals. So there's a number of individuals that attend, even from this township, that are not elected officials, but may have interest in fulfilling one of those roles. So, and that was just a way to open it up and help keep renewing the thing. So we'll see where that goes.
and not just, you know, the desire to, but also experience
Right.
and background
Yeah.
that may be of use to the township, so that's a good idea, Mr. Kretz.
Yeah. Well, somebody like Miss Brown, I was gonna talk to her if she was interested. I would nominate her. Scott Miller referenced another individual, I think, out of Spring Valley, that has a background that would be conducive to a secretary type position, does that type of role
Mhm.
now. So I think it's a planning and zoning type person, so.
And that suggestion did get aired
Good.
at the meeting. Further, it was, somebody recommended, it might have been Mr. Miller, who recommended that the Township Association consider, filling the executive committee positions on a rotational basis. That is, each township take responsibility for providing leadership on a rotational basis, and then what the individual could be named within the township process, but the overall organization is assured of both having leadership in place and not having to shoehorn someone in there who has done it previously and or doesn't want to do it again. So,
Yes.
that suggestion will be taken up at future meetings as
That's
well.
a good one, yeah. Scott and I discussed, he brought up his past experience as president of that association, and that it appears like any other organization, whether it's volunteer or not, that 20% of the group does 80% of the work, or fulfills 80% of the roles, and so, good.
Also, while we're talking about Township Association, the annual state OTA conference is coming up, January 30th to February 2nd in Columbus. Registration materials are in your current issue of Township News magazine, or you can get them online. So just a reminder that that's coming up at the end of the month.
Okay, investment committee?
No report for this meeting, but I'm gonna work with Alex to try to put together a meeting between now and the end of the first quarter.
Probably quarter, closer to the end of the quarter, just
Yeah.
once we get year rolled and that kind of stuff.
Not a problem.
Anything from Mr. Kretz?
No, just appreciation to the road department, nice job across the township. So I drove all over after a few phone calls, and nice job keeping up and cleaning up. So.
And for me, I've already said, I'll repeat again, I, ditto on those comments. I likewise drove everywhere, and township roads were in much better shape when I was out than most everybody else, so good job. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
1:46 p.m. Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.